welcome back. So today we will see little bit introduction about FLASK framework and all, and we will create our first web server and we run our first FLASK app. So before going into that, what exactly what exactly is backend development? So generally when we open any link in the browser, we see only the front end part like user interface, say, where we have multiple navigations or pages, and we have buttons, submit button, forms, input fields. So that is all about the front end, but the back end is the where the main uh, uh, the data processing is. So for example, we want to log into Gmail. Then when we enter our username and password in the backend, it actually authenticate and give us access to our Gmail account. So how it does, it will take the input from the user, and in the backend it creates an API call and then process the request. So even if you want to retrieve some data from drive, so it is again a database query. Similarly, it is like database. So performing calculations. For example, there is some app where we need to perform some multiple using a calculator, or you can have some to create. There are I meant to say there are a few websites where we can solve the linear equations or calculus equations. So even that can be performed in the back end using different technologies. So for example, HTML is one of the backend, but it's not maximum it is used for front end, but it actually works as a interface. So even there are multiple jQuery is used for database instruction to query the data from the data table. So even Python language is used for different interactions. The multiple Laravel is one of the again different framework. Now if we go to what is the difference between package and framework. So package is nothing but there are multiple functions in the code. Hello, is it fine now? Okay. So just repeating, so there is the backend is what user don't see, only the user interface, whatever we call like we see like HTML, CSS part, what we already done, only the user can see that, and the backend interactions is everything is done in the background using different languages, Python and jQuery, PHP. These are some of them are old and outdated, but some of the websites still use PHPs. So as of now, maximum websites use Java and Python as their main backend language. So now, what is the difference between framework and package? So already we see we have installed some packages like pandas or something in the Python. So package is nothing but some of the code is already written. We are actually calling that functions, and we are using that functions instead of we rewriting the code. So for example, we square root function, we import the math module, and then we uh, import a square root function, and then we give the number square root of some 4, it will give us the output as 2. So the package nothing but it's like a reusable component like functions, classes, modules are different. We can reuse. So framework is entirely different. So here why we are discussing is because Flask is not a package, but it is actually a framework. So framework is nothing but it actually dictates how we write the code. So it's not like if you want to like it's like if you want to write a plus b equal to c and we capture that. So or we can write in different ways. If we if a square plus b square is something equal to a into a plus b into b, something like that we can write. So framework defines, so you can't write like that. A square plus b square is you can only define like it will be again a to the power of 2 plus b to the power of 2. So something like that, like it's a set of rules. It ways and the overall structure and the flow. It's actually defined by any framework. So in the Python, the web frameworks are Django and Flask. Flask is for simple apps and not scalable apps. So it is the best starting point to learn web development. Django is mainly for commercial purpose. So if you want to build a website, for example, Instagram. So Instagram is actually running on Django only. So for that the type of commercial kind of websites, Django is more preferable for large scale applications. For small scale applications, so Flask is the main go-to framework in Python. So now, so why Flask? So Flask is very lightweight and it is actually minimalist. So maximum of the Flask modules are easy to use and it is actually with very clean APIs will be there and it is very easy to learn. So if we have much if you learn Flask very well, then we can build very easy applications as well complex applications with very ease. So why Flask? Flask is having different uh, uh, mechanisms. Say for example, it is having routing system. So where if we want to link two or more pages, so it's directly available. We can directly use the decorators and the templatings. So if you want some the page should look like this. So the template we can give the template and it automatically writes the HTML code for us. So we don't need to write any HTML code and it will have very few conventions like I meant to say very few syntaxes and it will have very good documentation and it supports unit testing as well. So this is the Flask page, so where we generally very good starting point. And this is a PyPy. So how we install Flask, that one. Okay, I think so duplicated. So now for Flask we need to install Python first and then we should have code editor, either PyCharm Visual Studio or you can use Notepad for now, but better to use any one of the uh, editors IDEs. So and then so when if you want to install Flask, we need to run pip install Flask. For example, I already run pip install for Flask. So it is saying requirement already satisfied. So because when we install Anaconda by default, Flask will be installed. So that's what it is saying, it's already there. If not, it will install all the dependencies. So the dependencies, if you see, it's like Flask, Zinza, Click. So all these are dependencies for the Flask to run. So so now the first create. So it's very simple application now. So from Flask, we are importing Flask, and we are making a name Flask equal to, we are giving name. So here this is the decorator. So here we are saying whenever we load a page like web page, so it's just a simple thing, we call this function. So here we can change different pages, and going forward we will see how we actually route the HTML pages. So when we load this page, it should call this function and it should return a hello world. So this is the simple Flask application. So even if you see in the documentation or quick start, so here app equal to Flask. So here if you see here, there is a good explanation. So we imported Flask class. So we have created an object instance of that class. So and then we are routing to tell Flask what URL should trigger our function. So whenever which URL by default, it we have, if we given the slash, it should trigger the root URL, like it's like google.com. For example, this is the root URL. For if you see, this is the root URL, and these are the pages which got linked. So similar that. So whenever we have given, so this will be triggering a root URL. So because the content type is default HTML. So now, so this is already we have seen. So whenever this is this name equal to mine, uh, we are calling we are saying app to run. So app is nothing but the Flask app to run, and debug is like it will give whenever we run the main app, it will give all the statistics whenever there is any mismatch between the page linkage or any element is written duplicate. Then this will be very useful to see as the debug statistics. As of now, because we are just writing only simple program, we are creating our first web server. Now just if I just clear, now just I'm running Python space my Flask. So it's production. So now if you see, it is running on this the default URL. So this is the root URL by default. The Flask apps will run on 5000 localhost host. So here I should get hello world. Oh, just taking time. Not sure. So generally it should not take this much time. So just I'm checking. Why 100% secret is using, which is using. Okay. So now if I just so yeah, now it got loaded. So if I just reload again also it will be the same thing. So it's a plain HTML. So when I just keep this and then if you see the HTML and it has written the HTML by itself. So the framework has written the HTML page. So we haven't written anything in the HTML. We just passed uh, the routing mechanism whenever the URL loads. We need to call this function so that it automatically creates the template of the HTML and then it automatically displays whatever we want to display. So now, yeah. So this is the main basic of this. So whenever you want to explore more, so going forward we will be exploring more. So the first thing is like templating. So generally we don't write frameworks the HTML. So we write everything in the Python and it automatically converts to HTML pages. But by default there will be different templates which we need to use. We need to see how Jinja 2 is one of the templating engine. So depending on the codes or depending on however we write uh, our Flask app, it will automatically convert to template HTML pages. So yeah, and then the error handling is very robust. We should gracefully manage. And we can do integrations of our Flask to PostgreSQL, SQL or MySQL and retrieve data. And we can the same thing like process web forms or WT forms for login kind of stuff. So we can actually so, so Flask is very straightforward. So maximum of the time it will be everything is depending on how we write the decorators and then routing mechanisms and then how we define all the variables depending on that our Flask app Just I'm now it got. So there are multiple things. So just I'm routing. So for example, if you see hello, the same thing, then in the page, if we give hello, it will be in hello world page. So it's a dynamic kind of stuff. So as I said again, auto linking of pages. There are multiple things. So going forward, we will check all. So how we build our application and how we do the final website and how we actually test and we build a very nice website going forward, like for example maybe a blog website you can say, or a portfolio website we can build using Flask. Yeah, for today that's it. So if I go back,